Have you ever felt like the world is stacked against you? Like the wicked thrive while the righteous suffer? In moments like these, the story of Daniel in the lion's den reminds us that God's protection is greater than any challenge. Thrown into a den of hungry lions for his unwavering faith, Daniel's miraculous survival is not just an ancient tale. It's a powerful reminder that God will deliver his faithful servants from even the most dangerous situations. Today, on Story of Grace, we'll explore how Daniel's courage and faith in God saved him from certain death. As we break down this powerful story, we'll see how we too can trust in God's protection in our lives. The beginning of Daniel's trial. Have you ever experienced the sting of envy or seen others try to tear down someone who stands out for doing what's right? The story of Daniel in the lion's den starts with just that, jealous officials conspiring against a man of integrity. Daniel's rise to power in the Persian Empire under King Darius wasn't just due to his skills as a leader, but because of his unwavering faith in God. As a servant of God, Daniel's character and devotion earned him the trust and favor of the king, and he quickly became one of the most influential men in the empire. But as is often the case when someone stands out in a position of power, jealousy soon began to fester among those around him. A group of officials who had grown resentful of Daniel's success began looking for ways to sabotage him. They recognized that Daniel's commitment to God was the source of his strength and success, and they knew they couldn't bring him down unless they attacked his faith. So they devised a devious plan to manipulate King Darius into passing a decree that would forbid anyone from praying to any god or man except the king himself for the next 30 days. These enemies of Daniel were confident that he would never stop praying to God no matter what. They knew that Daniel's loyalty to God would lead him to break the decree, giving them the opportunity to trap him. They watched, eagerly waiting for Daniel to violate the law. Little did they know, their plot would soon set the stage for one of the most powerful displays of God's protection. Daniel's faithful response. What would you do if your faith was put to the ultimate test? If everything you believed in was challenged, would you remain steadfast, even if it meant facing severe consequences? Daniel faced such a test when the decree issued by King Darius was brought to his attention. Most people would have thought twice, maybe even tried to find a way around it, but not Daniel. He didn't hesitate for a second. Upon hearing of the decree, Daniel didn't run, hide, or seek out a secret place to pray. He boldly continued his regular practice of praying to God 3 times a day, just as he had done before. Despite the looming threat of punishment, Daniel knew that his devotion to God was not something he could compromise on. He opened his windows towards Jerusalem, knelt down, and prayed in full view of those who had plotted against him. His prayer wasn't just a private conversation with God. It was a public declaration of where his loyalty truly lay. This act was a defiant, yet faithful response to the king's decree. It wasn't that Daniel sought to disrespect King Darius. He respected the king, but his loyalty to God came first. Daniel knew that even if the decree meant his life, he could not abandon his relationship with God. His actions were a testament to his courage and conviction. By continuing to pray openly, Daniel made it clear to everyone around him that no earthly authority could take precedence over his faith in the Almighty. His boldness was not a challenge to the king, but an unwavering stand for what he believed in, regardless of the cost. Daniel's response not only demonstrated his deep faith, but also sent a powerful message to those around him. In a world full of temptation to compromise and conform, Daniel's example of steadfast loyalty to God was an inspiration. It reminds us that true faith isn't about following the crowd or making easy choices. It's about choosing what's right, even when the odds are against you. Daniel's unwavering commitment is a reminder to us all. Never compromise your faith, no matter what challenges come your way. The king's dilemma. When the officials saw Daniel praying as usual, they quickly reported it to King Darius. The king was deeply distressed. He had valued Daniel and didn't want to see him punished. But the king's hands were tied. The decree that had been signed could not be revoked, and according to the laws of the Medes and Persians, once a law was enacted, it was irreversible. The king spent the rest of the day trying to figure out a way to save Daniel, but ultimately, the law had to be enforced. With a heavy heart, King Darius ordered that Daniel be thrown into the lion's den. As Daniel was lowered into the den, the king spoke words that would become famous. "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." Daniel's protection in the den. That night, the king could not sleep. He couldn't stop thinking about Daniel. Early the next morning, he rushed to the lion's den, hoping against hope that Daniel had been spared. When he called out to Daniel, he was overjoyed to hear Daniel's voice answering back. Daniel explained that God had sent an angel to shut the mouths of the lions, and he had been kept safe. Despite being surrounded by fierce predators, Daniel had not been harmed. He gave all the credit to God, acknowledging that it was God's power, not his own, that had saved him. God had not only protected Daniel from the lions, but had also delivered him in such a way that it was clear to everyone that Daniel's God was indeed the true and living God. The king's decree and the power of God. The story doesn't end with Daniel's miraculous escape. When King Darius heard that Daniel was alive and unharmed, he was filled with awe. He immediately commanded that the men who had conspired against Daniel be thrown into the lion's den, where they were quickly killed by the lions. The king then issued a new decree to all the people in his kingdom, declaring that they should fear and reverence the God of Daniel. He acknowledged that Daniel's God had proven himself to be greater than any earthly power. The king recognized that the God who had saved Daniel was not just a God of Israel, but the one true God who reigns over all. Lessons from Daniel's faith. There are several powerful lessons that we can take from Daniel's story. First and foremost, we see that God's protection is greater than any earthly danger. Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, a certain death sentence, but God protected him because of his faith. This shows us that even in the most difficult and dangerous situations, we can trust that God will be with us, just as he was with Daniel. Second, Daniel's unwavering commitment to God is a reminder that we should never compromise our faith, no matter what pressures we face. In a world where standing up for what's right can be difficult, Daniel's courage to stand firm in his beliefs teaches us the importance of staying true to God's commands. Lastly, Daniel's story shows us that God's timing is always perfect. When the king came to the den the next morning, he found that Daniel was alive and well. God had orchestrated everything in such a way that his glory would be revealed to everyone, including the king and all those in the kingdom. Trusting God's protection today. The story of Daniel is not just an ancient tale from the Bible. It's a story that still applies to our lives today. Each of us faces challenges and struggles, and we may even find ourselves in situations where it feels like the odds are stacked against us. But just as God protected Daniel in the lion's den, He is still protecting us today. When we remain faithful to Him, when we trust in His promises, and when we stand firm in our beliefs, we can know that He will watch over us. The world may try to silence us, just like the officials tried to silence Daniel, but God is bigger than any opposition we may face. As we reflect on Daniel's story, remember that God's protection and faithfulness are with us, no matter what trials we face. Stay strong in your faith, knowing that God is always by your side. Thank you for being part of the Story of Grace family. We look forward to bringing you more inspiring content in the future. God bless you. If Daniel's courage inspired you, we invite you to subscribe to Story of Grace for more uplifting stories. Don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below, sharing how this story impacted your faith journey. We'd love to hear from you.